Look at all these people walking around. Every single one of them is searching for something. For some, it's purpose. For others, it's happiness. And for a lot of people, that happiness is supposed to come from something we call love. Look at these two. They probably believe they already found love. They're in a relationship. Probably they're married. They tell themselves they're in love. But here's a question most never stop to ask. What actually is love? Is it something magical that just happened to you? Or is it something far more scientific? Because if you listen to how people talk about love, you'll hear the same phrases over and over again. Follow your heart. My heart chose them. The heart wants what it wants. But there's a problem with that idea, a very big one. Your heart doesn't actually make decisions. In fact, biologically speaking, your heart has one job: to pump blood around your body. That's it. Your heart isn't evaluating people, it's not analyzing personalities, it's not deciding who you should fall for. It's merely a pump. So if the heart isn't making these decisions, then what is? The answer is something we often overlook. The brain. Right now, all over the internet, there are entire industries built around relationships. Podcasts debating the dating market. Influencers giving advice about men and women. Platforms like TikTok and YouTube are filled with content about love, dating, attraction, relationships. Everyone has an opinion. But very few people actually talk about what's really happening. Because falling in love isn't magic. It's information processing. Your brain is constantly collecting data about another person, and it collects that data through something incredibly important: your senses. Think of your senses like different departments working inside a company. Your eyes are the detectives. They scan the environment. They notice physical appearance, posture, movement, facial expressions. Often that's the first thing that gets someone through the door. Your ears are the interviewers. They listen carefully. How does this person speak? Are they confident? Are they intelligent? Are they funny? For many people, especially women, how someone speaks can completely change how attractive they become. Then there's your nose. Most people don't even realize this one is happening, but humans subconsciously react to smell. Your brain quietly registers whether someone's natural scent feels familiar, comforting, or repelling. Then there's touch. The moment two people interact physically, your brain gathers even more information. Comfort, warmth, safety. Each sense is like a different employee collecting evidence. But there's one department that actually makes the decision: the brain. See the brain like a calculator. It's constantly doing the math. Eyes send information, ears send information, touch sends information. And the brain begins adding everything together: attraction, personality, shared beliefs, behavior. 2 plus 2 must equal 4. When enough of these pieces align, the brain produces something powerful: chemical reactions. You've heard of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and suddenly you feel something: butterflies, excitement, attachment. And we give that experience a simple name: love. But here's the interesting part. When you break it down like this, love starts to look less like magic and more like a formula. Let us give you a thought experiment. People often say men fall in love with what they see and women fall in love with what they hear. But imagine something for a moment. What if men didn't have eyes? Would they fall for the same women? Probably not. Now, imagine women didn't have ears. Would someone's words still make them attractive? Again, probably not. Now, let's take it even further. Imagine human beings only had one sensory organ. No sight, no hearing, no smell, just touch. Would we still fall in love with the same people? Well, of course not. Which tells us something very important. The senses are not just parts of attraction, they create attraction. They feed the brain information, and the brain decides what that information means. This also explains something people talk about all the time: love at first sight. But think about that phrase carefully. Love at first sight. Sight alone? How can love happen from one sense? If real connection requires personality, conversation, shared values, trust, then what people call love at first sight is probably something much simpler. They saw someone and they liked what they saw. That's not love. That's visual attraction. What they also call physical attraction. Love is what happens after the brain processes far more information. And here's where it gets even more uncomfortable, because the more you analyze love, the more you realize something. Relationships are often built on value exchange. People are attracted to things that benefit their lives, such as security, protection, stability, resources, or things like kindness, confidence, ambition, shared beliefs. These factors all feed into the brain's calculation. That's why when people break up, they often say something like, "We had irreconcilable differences." But what does that really mean? Well, it usually means their beliefs changed, their priorities shifted, or the value they once saw in each other disappeared. And suddenly people say something interesting. The love just wasn't there anymore. But if love was some magical force, why didn't it keep them together? Because love wasn't the thing holding them together in the first place. It was everything the brain had previously calculated as working. And sometimes the brain gets the calculation wrong. Chemical attraction can feel overwhelming. Infatuation can feel like destiny. Emotions can override logic, but that doesn't mean love is mystical. It just means the brain made a bad prediction. So maybe the real question isn't, does love exist? Maybe the real question is, what are we actually calling love? Is it chemistry? Is it compatibility? Is it biology? Or is it simply the brain combining thousands of signals and giving that experience a single word? What humans call love. Because the truth might be this: love isn't something that lives in your heart. Your heart is just a pump, like we already mentioned. Instead, love is something that happens in the most complex organ in the human body, your brain. And once you understand that, you start to see relationships very differently. Because love might not be magic, but that doesn't make it any less powerful. If anything, it makes it far more fascinating. Remember, we're not here to tell you what love is or what love isn't. We're just here doing the exact same thing you're doing. Studying life.